What these two men captured on camera in their local swamp made them local heroes. It was an anomaly that plagued the town for many years, and nobody could give a clear description. But not only did these two guys capture it on camera, they did something that was way more significant. It was a discovery that if not filmed, nobody would have believed. Before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. Under the shadow of a large mountain and between the cool breeze of two calm rivers lay the town of Crestwood. It was a normal town, a town where people had normal jobs and normal habits. Everyone knew each other, and nothing really strange ever happened. Everything was just very normal. Well, almost everything, because this town was in awe of a great mystery. With a quaint church that echoed its sermon every Sunday, a mall that sat at the town's heart, a smattering of clothing, stores lining its main street, and the peaceful humdrum of life marking its rhythm, Crestwood was a picture of ordinariness. But beyond its mundane appearance, Crestwood harbored an extraordinary tale, a folk legend that cast a mystic aura around it, a story of an inexplicable creature dwelling within the swampy edges of Willow River, a creature whose description varied with every telling. Some claimed it was a grotesque monstrosity with glowing red eyes and a row of sharp teeth. Others described it as a spectral being, a shapeshifter that could assume various forms at will. The accounts were as numerous as they were inconsistent. However, there were two young men in Crestwood who dared to seek out the truth behind the murky shadows of the legend. Brian was a born adventurer with an insatiable curiosity. His companion, Alex, was no less audacious. They had always yearned for an adventure, always craved something more than the monotony of Crestwood, and now the time had come. Their plan was daring and simple. Armed with a camera and buoyed by courage, they would venture into the damp swamp, the so-called abode of the creature, hoping to capture on film something that had never been achieved before. A glimpse of the elusive creature would not only quench their thirst for adventure, but also cast light on a mystery that had remained veiled for ages. When Brian and Alex approached him with their plan, the old fisherman looked at them for a long moment before letting out a guttural laugh. He knew the town's legend as well as anyone, perhaps better. His were among the eyes that had supposedly seen the creature. Renting his sturdy motorboat to the boys seemed like a trivial part of the grand scheme they proposed. Yet he saw a spark in their eyes that mirrored his own youthful spirit, a daring impulse that even the chilling tales of the swamp creature couldn't dampen. With a nod of his head and a grunt of agreement, he handed them the keys to his trusted boat, Poseidon. It was a small motorboat with a big name, but it was perfect for these kinds of narrow waters. The boys' hearts pounded with excitement, mixed with a dash of fear. They were on the verge of an adventure that could change everything. As they boarded Poseidon, readying themselves for the journey into the unknown, they looked back at the placid town, their home. Little did they know, their lives and the quiet narrative of Crestwood were about to take a dramatic turn. With a deafening roar, the engine came to life, cutting through the silence that had blanketed the town since dawn. Brian took the helm, navigating the boat with an unexpected confidence, steering it away from the bank and into the heart of the river. Alex, on the other hand, was busy setting up their camera equipment. With every wave that splashed against the boat, their heartbeats quickened, the promise of adventure adding fuel to their excitement. The morning fog enveloped them as they made their way into the labyrinthine swamp. Visibility was low, yet they remained undeterred. Hours passed. They were only accompanied by the odd jumping fish or the flutter of birds winging their way across the swamp. As the sun made its way higher, they continued to sail, their enthusiasm undimmed by the lack of results. Just as they were about to label the day uneventful, they felt it a sensation that seemed to ripple through the mist. They were being watched. It was as if the swamp had suddenly come alive, its stillness replaced by an eerie awareness. The sensation was spine-chilling, causing the hairs on the back of their necks to stand on end. Brian turned to Alex. "Do you feel that too?" he asked. Alex, his face reflecting a silent agreement, nodded in response. Fear was an emotion they were familiar with, but this was different. It was a fear that transcended the known, a primal instinct warning them of the unseen. Yet they couldn't and wouldn't retreat now. This was what they had come for. The thought of turning back was alien to them, overridden by their curiosity and thirst for answers. With an almost robotic precision, Brian steered the boat further into the swamp, deeper into the territory of the unknown. Alex, maintaining a firm grip on the camera, kept his eyes glued to the viewfinder, scanning the swamp, its nooks, its crannies, hoping for a glimpse of the mysterious creature. Every rustle in the bushes, every ripple in the water sent their hearts pounding. As the hours rolled on, the feeling of being watched didn't subside. Instead, it grew stronger, enveloping them in an atmosphere of anticipation. It felt as if they were on the precipice of a revelation, teetering on the edge of a truth that had remained buried for centuries. A part of them knew that they could be on the verge of uncovering a secret that would rattle the foundation of their quaint town. They cast one final look at each other, a silent promise that whatever happened, they would face it together. Brian tightened his grip on the helm, his knuckles whitening under the strain, while Alex kept his fingers poised over the record button. He was ready to capture whatever emerged from the swirling mist. The boat cut through the swamp water, heading deeper into the fog, the murmur of the engine, the only sound in the eerie silence. The boys held their breath, feeling as if the swamp itself was holding its breath with them. The sensation of being watched intensified, their hearts pounded against their chests like frantic drumbeats. Yet they held their course, their determination unyielding. The moment had arrived. Whatever was hiding in the swamp was about to reveal itself. They were ready, or at least they thought they were. Just as they began to doubt their hunch, an inexplicable clearing occurred in the mist. It was as if the swamp was conspiring to lift the veil on its best-kept secret. Alex, who had been on the lookout, gave an abrupt yell, pointing the camera towards the west. With his heart pounding against his ribs, Brian glanced at the direction Alex was pointing. There, partially hidden by a large swamp oak, something was looking back at them. The two boys squinted through the dissipating mist, the vague figure slowly morphing into an unmistakable silhouette. It was an animal, but not one they had seen or heard of before. The camera, its lens focused on the creature, trembled in Alex's grip. The fear and excitement intermingling within them was palpable. After the initial shock wore off, they scrutinized the creature through the camera. Its body was covered in large gray feathers, its beak large and curved, and it bore claws that were as long as their hands. The creature was bird-like, yet enormous, standing well over 3 feet tall. It was something neither science nor their local legend had described. The creature stared at them intensely, its eyes reflecting an intelligence that was uncanny. Brian and Alex were gripped by both fear and exhilaration. The creature was a silent spectator, seemingly unbothered by their presence. For a moment, time seemed to stand still as they found themselves locked in a surreal standoff. Mustering courage, Brian decided to take the initiative. He killed the engine and slowly began to row toward the creature, each movement measured and cautious. The bird didn't retreat but watched them curiously. Then, in an astonishing twist, it spread its wings and landed gracefully on the edge of Poseidon. The boat rocked under its weight but stayed steady. The creature stood tall, its feathers shimmering under the sunlight, the embodiment of wild majesty. As Brian filmed, Alex searched online for clues. What he found left him speechless. The bird was a harpy eagle, one of the rarest and most powerful birds of prey, native only to the rainforests of Central and South America. Its presence in Crestwood's swamps made no sense. Harpy eagles were known for their immense strength, intelligence, and imposing beauty. Yet the information Alex read next filled him with dread. They were hunted relentlessly for their size, rarity, and enormous talons, prized trophies for collectors. Realization struck them. Crestwood was a hunting town. Its walls were lined with stuffed game, proof of its obsession with the hunt. If word spread about this eagle, it would not survive. The majestic creature before them was unknowingly in grave danger. A deep sense of responsibility overcame Alex. The eagle's piercing gaze seemed to plead for help. When Brian noticed his friend's troubled expression, Alex shared what he had learned. Both men knew what had to be done. Their adventure had turned into a mission to protect the creature. Then Brian spotted something behind the bird. Amid the dense mangroves lay a massive nest with large eggs nestled inside and beside them. Another eagle stood guard. The realization hit them hard. The female had led them here, seeking help to save her family. What began as a casual exploration had become something far greater. They were being entrusted with the survival of a species. Without hesitation, Alex called the local wildlife protection sanctuary. The harpy eagle seemed to watch them knowingly as they waited for an answer. The sanctuary staff listened intently and immediately promised to send a rescue team. Within an hour, help was on the way. While they waited, Brian continued filming, capturing every detail of the powerful bird resting peacefully in the swamp, a living symbol of nature's resilience. When the rescue team arrived, they moved with quiet precision. The eagles were carefully relocated to a safe environment where they could hatch and raise their young in peace. Brian and Alex watched in awe as professionals ensured the bird's safety. Their adrenaline faded, replaced by relief and pride. Over the following months, the two men frequently visited the sanctuary, documenting the growth of the eagles. Their footage went viral, spreading across the world and turning their discovery into a powerful story of hope and conservation. They were celebrated as local heroes, not for chasing legends but for protecting one. Yet it wasn't fame that brought them joy, it was witnessing the eagles thrive, strong and free, under the care of the sanctuary. By the year's end, the birds were to be released back into their native rainforest, returning home to the skies where they belong. Brian and Alex vowed to be there, camera in hand, to capture that final flight. In the end, the greatest adventure of their lives had not been about confronting a monster, but about preserving the beauty of life.